In this chaptered flight through Book 1, we watch as sparks of hidden power flicker to life, old loyalties shift, and new rivals rise to the surface. Anastasia begins to uncover the depth of her connection to Phoenix. Rachael redefines what it means to protect, and Sarah's not backing down from anyone, not even Agent Frank. Tensions stretch across rooftops and sterile towers alike. So, settle in, wings out, and let's explore chapters 13 through 15.
Welcome to the Depth Dive, the show where we really dig into your sources, pull them apart, and find those fascinating insights hidden inside.
That's what we do.
And today we are plunging right into chapters 13 through 15 of Fallen Phoenix, Book 1. This is a really, really key section.
Absolutely pivotal. These chapters are just loaded. Expect revelations, some pretty intense face-offs, and loyalties shifting all over the place.
It's going to be quite the ride.
Yeah, our focus is squarely on these 3 chapters. They are incredibly dense. You get such a good look at how characters are evolving, some genuinely surprising plot twists, and just a deeper dive into this incredibly complex world the author's building. It's intricate stuff.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to unpack how these unexpected abilities just seem to pop up.
Out of nowhere sometimes.
Exactly. And explore the motivations, which are often, really complex, even contradictory for these characters.
Definitely seeing that.
And then observe these really stark contrasts between the 2 worlds that are kind of colliding here.
Yeah, the world Phoenix is in and the world of the tower. Very different vibes.
Totally different. So hopefully by the end, you'll have a much better grasp of the delicate power balance, the bonds forming, often in vulnerability.
Which is interesting in itself.
And the really high stakes involved when anyone tries to find truth or knowledge in this setting. It's dangerous.
Super dangerous. So let's jump into chapter 13, Takeout. Great title, by the way.
It is.
Because it really sets the scene for Anastasia starting to, discover these abilities she doesn't understand. And it gives us a closer look at that dynamic between her, Phoenix, and Rachael, which is, sometimes supportive, sometimes pretty tense.
Yeah, the tension is definitely there under the surface.
It's great character work revealed through these, subtle moments.
And it kicks off with nothing big for Anastasia, doesn't it? Remember that sparring match from chapter 12?
Oh, yeah. The rooftop training.
Right after that, she's sparring with Rachael again, and suddenly she's got this incredible sword skill, really good.
It's not just better, it's like a switch flipped.
Exactly. A massive skill spike. And the shock, especially for Anastasia herself, is palpable. She has no memory of training, no idea how she's doing it.
The source even has her asking, if I never use a sword, how could I defend myself so well? She's genuinely baffled.
Which makes it even more fascinating for us, right?
Yeah.
What does this mean? Is it buried memory? Is it Phoenix?
And that leads right into Rachael's insight. She's so sharp.
She really is.
She immediately makes a connection. And it's to something seemingly so ordinary.
The hair ties?
The fuzzy hair ties. The red and black fuzzy kind that Anastasia's wearing.
Yeah.
Rachael literally points them out. Hairband, sweetie.
It feels like such a small detail, but Rachael knows it's not.
Exactly. She suspects it's deliberate. That Phoenix didn't just, manifest some random hair ties with her outfit.
So she's thinking magic, attunement.
Yeah, that's the speculation. Rachael suggests they might be a trigger. Maybe Phoenix gifted them specifically to unlock or boost a skill that was already there, just dormant.
Which is classic Phoenix, isn't it? Subtle, maybe a bit manipulative, definitely mysterious.
Totally. And it just explodes with questions. What exactly did he do? Why these ties? Why this skill?
Is he training her? Protecting her? Setting her up for something?
And what does it say about his powers that he can just weave an ability into an accessory? It suggests a kind of subtle, almost passive way he's guiding her development.
But good luck getting a straight answer out of him.
Oh, forget it. His evasive charm is fully deployed here. Anastasia tries, right? She directly asks him about the sword fighting, the hair ties.
Understandably. She's confused, probably a bit freaked out.
In Phoenix.
Yeah.
Just emotional distance, sidesteps everything, keeps it all hidden behind that smile.
It's his signature move, isn't it? Avoid, deflect, distract.
Completely. And the distraction method here is almost comical. He pivots instantly to dinner.
Who wants pizza tonight? Seriously.
And she pushes back. You're avoiding the question.
Doesn't matter. He just doubles down. Half cheese and half ham. He even makes that little fire cell phone.
Yeah. The spark of fire forming a phone to call the bistro. It's such a performance.
It really shows how he deals with anything emotionally heavy, doesn't it? Just
Yeah.
change the subject, make a joke.
Or maybe it's more strategic. Maybe he needs to keep things veiled, keep Anastasia and us guessing. What's he not telling her?
So they end up having this dinner takeout, obviously.
Hence the chapter title.
And the atmosphere is just weird. It looks casual on the surface, but underneath, you can just feel the tension. Anastasia's frustration is simmering.
Yeah, she's trying to play along Rachael too, but those questions are hanging in the air. It's really effective writing, that contrast.
And that simmering frustration, that tension, it boils over, leads to that massive moment.
The cell phone incident.
Yeah. Anastasia gets so aggravated by his dodging and leaving that completely unconsciously.
Zap.
His little fire phone goes flying out of his hand and smashes against the wall. Poof!
Yeah.
Gone in smoke.
And that is undeniable. That's not just her imagination. It's raw power manifesting because she's upset.
Concrete proof, even though she herself is like, what just happened?
Right. She's still perplexed.
Yeah.
But Rachael and Phoenix, they know. They saw it. They acknowledge she did it.
Big aha moment for the reader, for sure. She has powers she's not even aware of controlling.
And Rachael tries to connect the dots for her, doesn't she? Links it back to other things, like her intuition.
Yeah, how she sometimes just knows what people will say or do.
Or how quickly she picks up everything she's taught. Rachael's trying to frame it as part of this pattern of innate ability.
But then Phoenix steps in, and he drops that line.
The big one. She's more than a new breed.
Whoa. Okay, so that term new breed is already floating around, maybe as a way to categorize beings like them.
Right, but Phoenix is saying Anastasia is something else. Something. More. Different.
It just deepens the mystery around her, doesn't it? What is she? Why is Phoenix protecting her? Does he know her origins?
So many questions, and it really implies this whole other layer to the world's structure, maybe different types of beings or power levels.
And right after this intense reveal, Phoenix himself shows a crack in his armor.
Yeah, that caged bird comment, it's really telling.
He feels confined, trapped. This incredibly powerful being feels like a caged bird.
What's the cage, though? Is it his power? His past? Responsibility? Maybe even these new connections he's forming?
Could be. Forming bonds might feel like losing freedom to someone like him.
So he just leaves. Abruptly.
Mm.
So he needs to fly. It's an escape, but also maybe like a reassertion of who he is.
But it really hits Rachael hard.
Oh yeah, she's visibly upset. The source says she looks distressed. Tells Anastasia his moods can shift drastically.
It shows how much of an impact he has on her, how much she cares. His volatility affects them deeply.
It does. But then you get this really lovely moment between Anastasia and Rachael.
Right. Anastasia actually tries to comfort her, shows real empathy.
And it softens Rachael. You see that guard drop a little more. It builds that sisterly bond between them, born out of this shared moment of worry about Phoenix.
It's a nice touch of warmth amidst all the mystery and tension.
Definitely. And then, later, after Rachel's asleep, Anastasia takes a big step.
Her first solo flight.
Yeah. Driven by that feeling of freedom she tasted earlier. She just goes for it.
It's not just practice. It feels like she's claiming something for herself, finding her own way, literally.
The source says she didn't know where she was going, just that she felt free. It's about breaking out, maybe, even from Phoenix's orbit for a moment.
But he's never far, is he?
Nope. He joined her midair. Silent protector.
And that description, wrapping two of his wings around her, that feels significant.
It's incredibly intimate. Protective. More than just catching her. He cradles her, flies her back to his room.
And then tucks her in, kisses her forehead.
Yeah, it's tender. Almost. Paternal. But also something else. It's a really complex connection they have. Deep care, responsibility, maybe more.
Definitely more than just teacher-student.
For sure. And she falls asleep seeing brilliant array of colors washing over her dreams. It feels like a symbol of everything changing for her, inside and out.
Wow. Okay, so that's chapter 13. A lot happens emotionally, setting up these powers and bonds. Now let's shift gears to Act 2, chapter 14, Inside or Out.
And this chapter throws us right back into the thick of the tower's operations. We meet Sarah Remlick properly.
And what an entrance. She is not messing around. She's Agent Frank's new partner, and she comes in swinging.
Literally, kicking in his door, grabbing him by the collar.
Dragging him out, and throwing gum at his head. It's amazing.
She's establishing herself immediately. Assertive, combative even. challenging his dismissive attitude right from the get-go.
No subservience here. She's independent, bold, refuses to be pushed around. A total contrast to what Frank probably expected.
Yeah, she's clearly ambitious and not afraid to show it, a real force.
And Frank's reaction tells you everything you need to know about him and the tower's hierarchy.
Instantly dismissive.
Yeah.
Calls her a new breed.
And you can hear the contempt in that, can't you? It's derogatory. It's meant to put her in her place.
Exactly. It signals her lower status, reinforces that prejudice against anyone new or different. It's about control, maintaining the old guard's power.
But Sarah doesn't seem intimidated. She pushes forward with her own agenda.
Right. She wants to find Anastasia, and she has a plan. A specific, advanced tracking method.
The repérage d'ami, featured friend.
Yeah, something new she learned in training. And she takes the initiative, goes outside the chain of command, in a way.
Consulting her old professor, Merle, shows resourcefulness, right? Using her own network.
Definitely. She's not just waiting for Frank's orders. She's proactive.
And then we get that fascinating detail from her diary.
The fuzzy pink diary. Such a great touch. Adds a layer to her character.
It does. And the entry from 2012, it reveals a lot.
Yeah, that she and Anastasia were actually top of the class with this tracking technique. Better than some field hunters, even.
Shows their potential, their history together, even back then.
But also critically, it mentions the danger, the recoil.
Sometimes it can be overpowered and recoil on the user. Totally not cool. Foreshadowing much.
Big time. It adds this layer of known risk to what Sarah's attempting. It's powerful, but volatile.
And as soon as she starts it, Phoenix knows. Instantly.
That connection again. Anastasia feels it too, right? Wakes up screaming.
Yeah. She's trying to find me.
She even names Sarah and the method. It's like she's tuned in on some psychic level.
And notice how Anastasia feels that rush of power through her body when the tracking starts.
Yes. And then it fades as Phoenix steps in. What does that mean?
It suggests she's not just a target, but maybe resonant. Connected to these magical energies intrinsically, like her body is reacting with the power flow, not just being targeted by it.
Interesting. So she might be more than just someone with latent powers. Maybe she's connected to the source somehow.
Could be. Makes her even more central to whatever's going on.
So Phoenix reacts. Fast. Eyes glowing. Focusing on that rose table.
Ensuring we stay hidden. Taking command. Shielding them. It's a powerful image of him controlling the situation, asserting his protective bubble.
And then the counterattack. It's visually spectacular in the description.
That swirling white light turns red, violent, painful for Sarah. Phoenix just reverses it, amplifies it.
Total dominance. A brutal shutdown of the attempt.
And then the kicker, his face appearing in the red light.
Smirking.
And delivering that line. Nice try, but no banana.
It's so Phoenix. Strategic, powerful, but also that mocking, almost playful edge, even when things are deadly serious. Psychological warfare.
He's not just blocking them, he's rubbing their noses in it.
Exactly. Making sure they know they were outclassed.
But the consequences are immediate and tragic.
Professor Merle, wow.
Pushes Sarah out of the way, takes the full force of that red energy himself.
An incredible sacrifice. Shows deep loyalty to his former student. But, yeah, the implication is dire.
And we find out later, it cost him his life. A direct casualty of this conflict, of Sarah's attempt and Phoenix's counter.
It really grounds the stakes. This isn't just magical fireworks, people die.
And Sarah herself is knocked unconscious, injured, the recoil, just like her diary warned.
Yeah, the danger was real. Her ambition had a serious price.
Which sets us up perfectly for Chapter 15, The Past Comes Alive. And the collision of these worlds becomes even more apparent.
Right. We're introduced to Agent Jane. And the setting is telling. A council meeting. Formal, cold.
And the topic, Project Extinguish Flame.
Chilling name. It's not Capture Phoenix or Neutralize Phoenix. It's Extinguish.
A plan to kill him because they believe he's destined to destroy them all. High stakes, dark motivations from the power side.
But Jane, she adds immediate complexity. She seems stoic, no nonsense on the surface.
But then we get that flashback.
The collapsing warehouse, her impaled by a pipe, and Phoenix.
Target. Saves her life. Heals her.
It's a massive reveal. It completely contradicts the tower's narrative that he's purely destructive. It shows compassion, power used for healing, not just fighting.
And her memory of his eyes. Kind but fierce. Full of knowledge but still held the innocence of a child.
That's such a powerful description. It paints a picture so different from the outlaw the council wants to extinguish. It suggests a depth, maybe even a tragedy to him that they ignore.
Or maybe they know, and it makes him even more dangerous to their control.
That's possible too. Someone complex is harder to predict, harder to demonize effectively.
And this personal history clearly affects Jane's perspective now. She pushes back subtly against Frank.
Yeah, when Frank dismisses Phoenix's taunt as just mockery, Jane reframes it.
She calls it a game, right? A strategic game of outthinking each other.
He's got to outthink you almost daily just as you try to outthink him. She sees the intelligence, the strategy, not just random malice, shows her critical thinking is still active despite the tower's dogma.
She understands him on a level Frank doesn't or won't.
And speaking of Frank, we get a look at his relationship with Jane.
If you can call it that, the mate bond.
Yeah, described as formal and cold, a strategic mate bond.
No affection, only duty. It's purely political or strategic gain. Wow, that's a core part of their culture.
Apparently so. Accepted, even normal within their society.
Yeah.
It's fascinatingly bleak, prioritizing structure over any kind of emotional connection.
And their living space reflects it, right? Cold, metallic, Frank Silverton and Jane Silverton on the door, like a business arrangement.
Exactly. Such a deliberate contrast to the messy but warm environment we saw with Phoenix, Anastasia, and Rachael. Even with all their issues, there's feeling there.
Here, just duty, strategy, coldness.
And Frank embodies that coldness perfectly when he talks about Sarah's failed mission.
Zero empathy. Blames Sarah entirely.
And Merle's death.
Yeah.
Just collateral damage, a footnote in a failed operation.
He actually tells Sarah, because of your carelessness, your professor is dead. Unbelievably harsh.
It shows he's completely ruthless, calculating. People are just tools or obstacles to him.
His visit to Sarah in the infirmary drives that home even more.
Yeah, she's in intensive care. And he shows up. Why?
Obligation, duty, not concern.
He's there to use the situation, isn't he?
Totally. He keeps blaming her, calls her careless again, and then twists the knife.
Using Merle's death.
To motivate her.
Tells her to use it to fuel your drive in capturing Phoenix.
Ugh, that's low. Manipulating her grief and guilt. It's cruel.
It reveals his character completely. Self-serving, manipulative, no moral compass in sight, power through control and exploitation.
And Sarah, she's hurt, crying, but she still has fight left.
Calls him a floor knock.
Which means what again?
Great arrogance or ignorance, basically. A powerful insult in their original language.
Good for her. Even injured and grieving, she's defiant. Shows her spirit isn't broken.
Not yet, anyway. So, stepping back, these 3 chapters really hammer home some key contrasts, don't they?
Absolutely. The warmth versus coldness is unavoidable.
You've got Phoenix, Anastasia, Rachael building these complex, messy, but real emotional bonds. Support, comfort, even in dysfunction.
Versus the tower, Frank and Jane's strategic loveless bond. Frank's utter lack of empathy. It's all rigid structure, duty, control. Emotion is a liability there.
Then there's empathy versus manipulation.
Huge contrast. Phoenix healing Jane, his enemy, in the past. Compared to Frank, using Merle's death to manipulate Sarah's grief for his own ends. One acts out of something like compassion, the other purely out of strategic cruelty.
It really highlights the different moral universes they seem to inhabit.
And finally, that idea of true power versus just control.
Yeah. Phoenix's power feels internal, maybe spiritual. It allows for these unexpected skills in Anastasia, for healing, for defying expectations, even for compassion. It seems connected to freedom, understanding.
While Frank's power is all external. It's about hierarchy, suppression, manipulating others, maintaining order through fear and rules.
One seems to be about potential and liberation, the other about restriction and domination.
And that fundamental difference seems to be driving this whole conflict.
It really does. It shapes everything we're seeing.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's been intense. We saw Anastasia's potential really start to surface, the sword skill, the phone incident, her first flight.
And Phoenix showing so many facets, protector, strategist, trickster, but also that vulnerable caged bird and that surprising tenderness, like kissing Anastasia's forehead.
Yeah, he remains such an enigma.
And then the harsh reality check from the tower. Agent Frank's cold ambitions, Agent Jane's complicated position, the tragic cost paid by Professor Merle.
That failed tracking attempt and Phoenix's counter move really showcased the power levels and the ruthlessness involved on both sides.
It leaves us with so many threads dangling, doesn't it? How will Anastasia's true nature unfold? What does more than a new breed actually mean?
And Phoenix, his evasiveness, his defiance, what are the long-term consequences? Especially with Jane now in the picture, knowing what she knows about him.
And how will this clash play out? Frank's philosophy of control versus whatever Phoenix represents. It feels like the core battle for the soul of their world, maybe.
It really does. I think what this deep dive really highlights is that power isn't simple here. It's not just about brute force or being in charge.
No, it seems tied to understanding, maybe acceptance, and having the courage to be who you are, even if it goes against everything expected, like Anastasia starting to fly, or Phoenix saving Jane.
Challenging the system, challenging assumptions.
Ex
So, a final thought for you to chew on. Reflecting on all this, what kind of power do you find more compelling or perhaps more valuable? The power of control or the power of understanding and authenticity? And what might that preference say about the kind of world you'd want to see or build?
Something to definitely think about.
That brings our dive through chapters 13 to 15 to a close. From the whispered secrets behind a pair of fuzzy hair ties to the thunderous arrival of a new contender, these chapters pulse with growth, conflict, and quiet revelations. As Phoenix flies higher and those around him choose their roles in his orbit, we're reminded that change, like fire, can be both beautiful and dangerous. Join us next time as the flames rise higher and the heart of the Phoenix faces its next trial. Until then, keep your sword steady and your purpose true.